Hi, I'm Keith McCullough, and welcome back to our book club where I'm excited to present one of the top 3 books on my bookshelf. The last one I presented was one of the top 3 as well, which is The Misbehavior of Markets by Benoit Mandelbrot. This one is Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. Now, why is it one of the top 3? And we'll give you the third later. Well, it's pretty simple. These guys really pioneered the path, and I'm saying these guys, Daniel Kahneman, of course, is credited with the book because he wrote it, but he and his partner Amos Tversky, who passed away in 1996, he was really one of the main contributors, as Daniel Kahneman himself would tell you, to not only the book, but Kahneman winning a Nobel Prize for really introducing behavioral finance in 2002. So that's number one. These guys were the pioneers, these 2 Israeli guys who basically walked down the path against everybody else and said, look, the way that you guys are doing it isn't quite the way that the world works. So think in terms of the establishment versus how human beings actually behave. That's a really important revelation from these guys. I guess the second big thing that I'd say about the book is that the behavioral component, if you look at the top 3 things in this triangle that Hedgeye again has as the research process, we have 3 big things. One is history, one is math, and one is behavioral finance. So again, behavioral finance is critical. Understanding where it came from, that's really the third point. What this book does is it provides you, I think, a real baseline or a real base pack for understanding what is behavioral finance, why, how is it defined, how did Kahneman define certain things, like heuristics, for example. On and on and on. You can learn a lot from this guy and read it over and over and again. What this book actually does is it teaches you why human beings should embrace uncertainty. And that's really important. Here's an interesting quote, I thought, or at least one of my favorite quotes from the book. This comes from The Associative Machine. That's one of the chapters in Thinking Fast and Slow, where Kahneman writes, "The notion that we have limited access to the workings of our minds is difficult to accept because naturally it is alien to experience, but it is true. You know far less about yourself than you feel you do." Isn't that the truth? Now, if you think about what I learned from this book in terms of how I applied it. Now, again, I'm a Wall Street person that everyone wants conviction from, or they want me to be certain about what it is that I think. And believe me, they want that all of the time. And I've started to, certainly as the years have gone on, become more comfortable saying things like, I don't know. The one thing that I'll always go back to is how Danny Kahneman finishes the book, which in stark contrast to a lot of critics of the establishment, whether it be economists or again strategists in the marketplace, those that I deal with, at the end of the day, he provides a solution. And I think that that's very much the same thing that Benoit Mandelbrot did mathematically. It's what Danny Kahneman does here from a behavioral perspective. And I'll read you literally the last sentence of the book. I don't know why you'd go any further than the conclusion itself. But if you read this, just listen to his advice to them, if you will. Them, i.e. the other side, or the people that do it differently than we do. They will make better choices when they trust their critics to be sophisticated and fair, and when they expect their decision to be judged by how it was made, not only how it turned out. And that's a really important point and a great one to end on. I don't care if you're right or wrong, especially in markets. What I care about is how you made the decision. What was your process? Is that process repeatable? We all know that we make mistakes. We might have a great process and make a mistake. We might have the wrong outcome. But what do you do when you're wrong? And how do you go back and analyze, evolve that process? I think that this is right up the middle, something that anyone who is not a believer in behavioral finance or how we've incorporated it into our process, again, the onus is on you to tell me why this isn't a better way.